All right, I'm recording now. I guess this is going to be our Catholic expose, another Catholic exposure call. But to give an example of how completely superstitious and foolish they are, um, they have this concept of patron saints, and a patron saint is something that the Catholics consider to be a saint, somebody who died, who has special powers. And for them, it really is like the Pantheon. The Greeks had this idea of a bunch of different gods who each had their own power, and so you would pray to each god to have different kinds of prayers answered. So if you never heard of the Greek Pantheon, um, and the Pantheon also oftentimes refers to their temple. There was the Pantheon temple. But
Hmm.
a pantheon of gods is a collection of gods and goddesses that is a common feature of polytheistic societies. It can be a reflection of a society's values and sense of itself. So let me look up pantheon list of gods. So pan and theon just means, what does pan mean in Greek?
Man.
I'm pretty sure it just means a lot. Pan Greek meaning. Pan means all gods. So pantheon would just mean all of them. So let's see here, Greek pantheon. Here we go. So this will give you a list of all the gods in the Greek pantheon. Of course, the statues are always so immodest. Okay, we're going to skip all that garbage. Okay, so guys, the Catholic Church unfortunately has the same thing. I mean, their Pope in the 600s, I believe, even dedicated the Greek Pantheon temple to Mary and all the martyrs in the 600s. You can look that up. I forget which Pope it is. Pope who dedicated Pantheon to Mary and martyrs. Um, that happened in the 600s. But yeah, he officially, they say, well, we're rededicating it. It's not that we are worshiping Greek gods. We're dedicating it to Mary and all the martyrs. But guys, it's all connected. The Catholic Church really does have their own pantheon, and they really do, of course, bow to them and believe that they all have superpowers, like the Avengers. And so they tell
Mm.
you then to pray to each saint. And if you want to look up something like this, you can look up list of patron saints. If you ever are feeling like really down or depressed and you need a really good laugh, just look up list of patron saints by occupation and activity. Go on Wikipedia here and read this list here of patron saints. It will make you belly laugh. It will probably give you one of the best laughs you have ever had as you hear the specific things that they pray to each of the saints about. So they really do believe each of these saints has special powers to help you for specific things. Like if you look up, like let's say car keys. They have one if you lose your car keys. Oh, this list doesn't have it. If you lose your car keys, there's a saint to pray for that. If you get a toothache, there's a saint to pray for that. They all have their own special thing, and one of the most famous ones, if you want to hear how superstitious they are, is Joseph. They say, well, here you can look it up. Um, this is what you do. If you get a statue of Saint Joseph, and if you are trying to buy or sell a house, see, Joseph he's the patron saint, or should we say he's like the god of real estate and carpentry. So like anything involving houses, he's your man. He's the one you pray to. So like if you look this up online, like if you look up Joseph upside down to sell a house, they have lots of articles. Like, these are all made by very superstitious Catholics. Like, here's Quora. What's the reasoning behind burying St. Joseph upside down? The story behind using a St. Joseph statue to sell your house. Like, we're going to click a random one. I didn't plan this. So there's a little statue they got there. This is what they say. How to bury him. Oh, here, we're just going to read at the beginning here. We're going to read. Okay. They say, yeah, bury him in your yard. Now, they say that this superstitious little practice, this is what will help your house to sell. Look at this. St. Joseph is still selling houses. A history. This is how crazy they are, guys. How to sell your house fast by burying a St. Joseph statue. So they basically just give you your steps.
Hmm.
Yeah, go take it. Sellers who believe in the powers of St. Joseph have buried tiny statues of him upside down near the for sale signs in their yards for years. I love how they say for years. It's like for a total of what, a few decades? It has been 2,000 years since Christ ascended. I would like to hear them say for 2,000 years, but they just say for years. Because this idea, guys, is new. This is not an ancient idea. While nobody knows who started this practice, the goal of burying the statue on the property was to encourage the saint to sell their house. That is why many potential buyers are looking at St. Joseph's cellars. Years after this tradition started, again, I love to know how many years. Years after this tradition started, vendors are still burying miniature statues of St. Joseph to try to boost their luck with selling their homes. Real estate agents have started using this practice as a marketing tool for buyers. You can even look about like why is he upside down? And they'll have this explanation. I wonder if they're going to do it here. I wonder if they're going to give you the explanation because on a lot of these websites, you can they'll say, well, one person suggests that maybe the reason why you should make him upside down when you bury it is because that makes Joseph uncomfortable, and so that will make Joseph try to help you sell your house much faster because he wants to get out of that uncomfortable position of being upside down. So it's like they actually believe that like Joseph is inside the statue and like you're torturing him or something. I'm not kidding, guys. I'm not making this up. I wish I could say that I'm making this up right now, but you can look it up yourself. This is the Catholic Church right now. They really are that superstitious. So they say, yeah, put him upside down and bury him, and then after the house sells, you can like take him out of his torture chamber, and that's what you do. And they're superstitious. They really think that this will help sell your house faster. Okay, I guess we're gonna have a fun night. You guys want to read a list of patron saints? This will make you laugh.
Mm.
Yeah,
I know.
Luke.
Yeah,
I've
Caesar.
heard, I've heard that people did that with garden gnomes, but I never knew that they used a statue of Joseph.
They
I
did.
wonder which one came first, the
Oh,
garden gnome or
so
Joseph.
guys, so much of the stuff that the Catholic Church claims to like prove their religion to be true, it comes from the Greeks. For instance, if you look up Mary crying statues, this is one of their proofs. They call this, weeping statues. Look, Catholic Church is what comes up. That's what's everywhere. And they'll say, a weeping statue is a statue which has been claimed to have shed tears or to be weeping by supernatural means. Statues weeping tears which appear to be blood, oil, and scented liquids have all been reported. Other claimed phenomena are sometimes associated with weeping statues, such as miraculous healing, the formation of figures in the tear lines, and the scent of roses. So anyway, the Catholic Church will always tout its miracles. They'll say, that we have the miraculous statues, right? Like some of our Mary statues will cry. Sometimes it'll cry blood. And they say this is a sign that you need to worship Mary, okay? And of course, we'll always tell you guys the same thing. While many of these things are proven to be total frauds, of course, there are lots of people faking this
Hmm.
stuff. There are people even like literally going and painting. Sometimes they will paint red paint on it to make it look like it was crying, and it'll all be exposed. It's never crying. Somebody painted. Nevertheless, guys, if you want to understand the true argument against this foolishness, uh, is that a miracle does not prove that something is from God. Because you have to remember, miracle workers, magicians, opposed Moses when he came to set the Israelites free from Egyptian slavery. And those magicians who opposed Moses were not really representing God. They were enemies. And also, they outnumbered Moses. There were more of them than Moses. And yet, God didn't consider the people to be excused. Any of those Egyptians, if they believed in those Egyptians instead of Moses, God didn't say, oh, well, they could perform miracles too, so I just feel sorry for you poor people, and you're not condemned, because how are you supposed to know that those magicians were really doing it through the power of demons? How are you supposed to know that? You're excused. God didn't say that. God said you should have known better. And the same goes for all these supposed miracles, guys. The true argument against this that you need to remember is that even if there are miracles being performed, some silly statue weeping or something, this does not prove that the Catholic Church is teaching true doctrine. Even if it could be proven it was really supernatural, that is not where the teachings of the church come from. They don't come from statues. The teaching of the church come from the traditions of the apostles and their successors, the bishops who they ordained to teach the church the things that Christ handed down. So they really just have no understanding of where the doctrine of the church comes from. They think that if a statue does something, then that confirms it's from God. But I'm going to show you guys something you've probably never heard before, even if you have heard of the weeping statues before that the Catholic Church claims prove that it's the true church. You should look up Greek weeping statues. Did you know the Greeks claimed the exact same miracles? It's probably here on the same Wikipedia. We can look up Greek. But yeah, the Greeks for hundreds of years claimed the same miracles. They claimed that the gods would cause miracles to be performed in their statues. Google here isn't bringing a lot up, but I have a bunch saved. I can show you guys examples sometime. So yeah, I mean, are we to believe in the whole Greek pantheon just because they have miracles associated with their statues? No. You guys need to understand demons really do perform miracles, and you guys need to be wise enough to not be led astray, even if miracles are performed to prove some religion's authenticity. Christ warned you that there would be people in the last days who would be false Christs and would perform many miracles. And we are expecting the ultimate deceiver called the Antichrist, who Paul says is going to have the power to perform all signs and wonders so as to astray, if possible, even the elect. So be on your guard and don't seek after a sign. Jesus says a wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign. So don't be that wicked and adulterous generation. Don't be Thomas and say, I won't believe until I see miracles. Miracles are not what make this, or they're not what make the Christian religion. You're expected to believe the truth without miracles, and you're actually expected to reject any religion if it contradicts the doctrine of Christ. Even if it has miracles, you're expected to reject it. Okay, I want to read a list. There's a lot of patron saints here, guys, but it'll just give you an idea of the Roman Catholic pantheon. Okay, so if you're an academic, whatever that means, I guess if you're going to college, you're going to want to pray to Thomas Aquinas and Albert the Great. If you're an actor, you're going to want to pray to this guy, Genesius. It's kind of funny they would tell you to pray to this guy who's an actor because he actually repented of being an actor and he was executed after that. Yeah, Christians are not supposed to be actors.
Another question I have, what's called? My parents are forcing me to like do Catholic school. Right? I have to do all my communions. Will that mess up my faith? Like, not my faith. I meant like when I have to like take the sacraments.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah,
Ozil,
they're gonna also force me to do the sacraments
you should not
and
have
get
it with
baptized.
them, and nobody can force you to take communion. Now, Ozil, the Catholic Church does understand the sacrament of communion much better than most other denominations. They do understand it, and I haven't been in a Catholic church in a long time, maybe like once a long time ago, but I know what they teach about it, and it is mostly correct. But they just incorporate so much idol worship that, and of course the priests are all wicked. They are all sinners, and they're effeminate. They all shave their beards. They all want to look like women, and they wear their big fancy clothes, which they're not allowed to do. God doesn't let priests wear expensive clothes. So they are total frauds, and they're not true priests. So that's the reason you should not be taking communion with them. But God did give us the Eucharist, and we are to treat it with great respect. And so the reason you are not to have it with them is not because the Eucharist should ever be disrespected, but just because those men who are administering it are not worthy to, and you should not be having communion with them.
Mm-hmm.
So avoid them and
Oh,
learn about
that
the
that
faith.
would be really hard.
I know it will. Well, Ozil, you're learning exactly what I was telling you. Remember the first thing I
Yeah.
was telling you at the beginning of this call?
Yeah, but that's the thing. They're gonna force me anyways. Yeah, one way or another, I still have to do it.
Nobody can force you to take a sacrament. That's not even Christian.
No, that's the thing. They are going to do it. I already told Maurice about what they said.
Ozil, do you understand? God does not ever force someone to be baptized or to have the Eucharist. You cannot force someone to do that against their will.
Oh,
That's completely insane. It's not even. I mean, it's not even something Catholics teach. Your parents are telling you to do something that. I mean, you should tell the priest. You should say, "My parents are forcing me to take the Eucharist when I don't want to."
yeah, yeah. They're still not gonna listen either one way or another. They're going to put me in some church, and then they're going to try and make sure I have the 2 years, and then get baptized, and then have to do uh the sacraments.
But you didn't have. So you're not baptized yet. Is that right?
No, I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
baptized yet.
Okay, well then you don't have to worry about it. They're not giving you communion.
Just yeah, but I'm still gonna have to do after I get baptized. Then I'm gonna have to do all this rest of it.
How soon do you think they're gonna have you be baptized?
And it takes 2 years to get baptized, I think.
How long have you been doing the school?
I'm starting this year.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it at another time. For now, I'm going to read you a list. This is good for you to know that this is the Roman Catholic Pantheon. Okay, you've got Genesius. You pray to him. If you're an actor, he'll help you out with acting. It's ridiculous. Christians are not allowed to be actors. Accountants, they should pray to Matthew. That's funny because of course he's a tax collector, so it only makes sense. If you're an advertiser, air travelers, altar servers, ambassadors, anesthesiologists. That's strangely specific, isn't it? Animal rights activists, apprentices, archaeologists, archers. Oh my goodness. Guys, if you're an archer, you've got these three people to pray to. I don't know why you'd be an archer. Hopefully you're not shooting actual people, but of course the Catholic Church totally approves of and endorses war and murdering people. Archivists, architects, armorers. Oh yeah, they're all about their war. Yeah, he's the one you pray to. So arms dealers. What the heck? Arms dealers? You're going to pray to this guy if you're an arms dealer. What in the world? Art dealer, artillerymen. This is hilarious. Like guys, if you're actually like shooting people with artillery and you want your shots to land and you want their guts to splatter, make sure you pray to this woman named Barbara, Saint Barbara. Well, how did she get involved in all that? What's her problem? Okay, we've got artists, astronauts, astronomers, athletes, attorneys. Woe to you, lawyers. Remember Jesus said that? Authors, aviators. All right, you guys just be taking names down, whatever you guys are doing for a living. Bakers, they pray to Agatha. Oh, good grief, I'm sorry. Bankers, why in the world is the Catholic Church obsessed with nudity? I can't even hover a cursor over something without them showing some naked lady. They have no concept of decency. Okay, bankers, barbers. By the way, guys, in the church, from the earliest times in the church, they taught that men should not be giving themselves fancy hairstyles. They say just cut your hair, just cut it off and do not try to make it pretty. And yet, apparently, you can be a cosmetologist for a living, and that's something a saint will even help you with. Ridiculous. Of course, why do I even use that as an example when they think you can be an arms dealer or an artilleryman or an archer? Ridiculous. All of it so evil. So, baristas, bartenders, basket makers, beekeepers, beggars, bell makers, belt makers, bird dealers. What? John the Baptist? Bird dealers? I don't even know, guys. What in the world? Is this because he brought down, like he baptized Jesus and the Holy Spirit came down as a dove? Is that how they connect that? I don't know. I'm speculating. Blacksmiths, boatmen, bookbinders, bookkeepers, booksellers, bombardiers. What? That's a bombardier is a military rank that has existed since the 16th century in artillery regiments of various armies. So why are they obsessed with war? Anyway, I guess guys, if you're bombarding people with artillery, just make sure you're praying to this guy named Quentin. Box makers, Boy Scouts, brewers, bridge builders, bricklayers, broadcasters, brush makers, builders, businessmen, and butchers. There's Barbara again. Just make sure you guys don't hover your cursor on any of these because you might see a naked woman. What is their problem? Excuse me again. I'm sorry. Okay, cabinet makers, canon lawyers. And then we've got carpenters. There's Joseph, of course. Remember I was telling you he's that patron saint of houses and carpentry. Make sure you put him upside down and torture him in order to get him to do what you want. Casket makers, cattlemen, catechists. So a catechist means somebody who instructs a catechumen. So you're a catechumen right now, Ozil. And of course, the Catholic Church would be happy to hear that, but a catechumen is somebody who's learning about the faith before they get baptized. But you're a real catechumen if you're learning from the early church, and you're not just learning from these crazy people who have changed Christianity so much and ruined it, corrupted it. Okay, Catholic students, pray to this person, Aloysius. There's cavalry, pray to this guy named George if you're warring against your fellow man. There's chandlers, chaplains, charcoal burners, chefs, chess players, like, what the heck? That's a woman you're going to pray to. I dare not even hover my cursor over it because of what might happen. Okay, if you're children, pray to this person named Nicholas. All right, then. Chimney sweeps, cinema. Guys, if you're involved in the cinema, again, pray to Genesius. He's also the guy you pray to if you're an actor. Civil engineers, civil servants, clergy of Korea. All right, very specific. Clerics, clockmakers, cloth workers, clowns. Guys, if you're a clown, you know who to pray to now. Coffee house owners, comedians, college students, communications, computer programmers. Man, the list just goes on. There's a lot of stuff in here. Dancers, of course. Don't forget, if you're a dancer, that's who you pray to. It's this person named Vitus. Yeah, doctors, drivers, dyers. I know down here there's one for if you're on the receiving end of artillery fire, which is hilarious because when you think about it, you've got one person you pray to if you're dispensing the artillery fire, and so that person is helping them with the artillery, helping their shots to land, and then if you're receiving artillery fire, you pray to another saint. So it's like the saints are fighting against each other. You've got a saint to pray to for if you're a dentist, doctors, electricians, military engineers. See, they separate it. There's engineers and then military engineers. Farmers, field workers, fireworks. So ridiculous. So this is the Pantheon, guys. This is the Roman Catholic Pantheon. None of this existed in the early church. First of all, they weren't praying to saints at all in the early church for 300 years. And even this idea of having a patron saint, like each person having their own superpowers, that took a long time to develop. Look at this. If you're a hairdresser, you should pray to Mary Magdalene. How wicked. How absolutely wicked. Who joined? Ray, good to see you. We're going through the Roman Catholic Pantheon. We're reading a list of what you call patron saints. You pray to each one of these people to access their superpowers to help you with things. But this is evil that they would say, if you're a hairdresser, you're a cosmetologist of some kind, pray to Mary Magdalene, because Mary Magdalene was a harlot, guys. That was what she did as a harlot, that she would put on makeup and make her hair fancy to attract other men. And they actually tell you that you should pray to Mary Magdalene for help doing the thing that she repented of. That's like saying, if you're a tax collector, you should pray to Matthew. Like, Matthew repented of that. Mary Magdalene repented of being a harlot. And they're saying, if you want to be a harlot and do hairdressing for a living, pray to Mary Magdalene. How evil is that? If you're homeless, pray to Peter of Saint Joseph. Let's see here. Ice skaters. Here's who to pray to if you're an ice skater. Infantrymen. Absolutely. If you do anything with the internet, pray to this guy named Carlo. I guess they made him a patron saint already. This is some guy who lived recently. All right. He died of leukemia, and they made him the patron saint of the internet. That is absolutely hilarious. So he died in 2006. Do you guys not find this insane? Like, that the Catholic Church could just declare somebody as a saint who has powers? Like, the Catholic Church, guys, if you think about it, they don't even know if any of these people are even in heaven, unless one of them is a martyr or something. But not all these people are martyrs. A small number of them are martyrs. But they think they can just say, like, pray to this human being. Guys, what if this guy Carlo, and I'm not saying I know this, I'm just saying hypothetically, what if any of these people are actually in the fires of Gehenna right now? And people are praying to a condemned person burning in the fiery torment of Gehenna, and they're praying to them for help. I mean, and you can be sure that that is true. That all these people are certainly not all in paradise. I mean, all those people you're praying to help you in a war are definitely not those people who are righteous, if they were engaged in war, because that is forbidden to Christians. How ridiculous is it all that they think they can determine who is saved and who isn't, who is in paradise and who is in Gehenna? Insane. So if you're a jeweler, you pray to this guy. Remember, Christians aren't into jewelry. And they say, jurors, guys, Christians don't go to court. And if you are called to condemn somebody in court, you are not allowed to go and be condemning people in a court as a juror. And yet they're saying, pray to this woman. What is a woman doing in charge of jury duty? So kings and knights, so they say if you're a king, pray to this guy Edward. Did you guys know in early Christianity, they say if you're a king and you want to become a Christian, you have to step down from that position of being a king. You cannot remain in government and be a Christian. So many things wrong with this. So they've got laborers, lawyers, leather workers, linguists, locksmiths, lumberjacks, Marines. And again, there's that Barbara who unfortunately is not wearing a shirt. If I put my cursor on it, I'm sorry about that, guys. So makers of images of the crucifix pray to John of Damascus, big heretic who lived in the late 600s, early 700s. And if you're a martyr, like what does this even mean? Aramis, what does this mean that if you're a martyr, you should pray to Anastasia? Like, well, if you're a martyr, you're dead. I don't even understand that. I don't.
No, not all martyrs are
Oh,
right.
Maybe if you're gonna be martyred.
okay, if you're about to be martyred, you pray to.
Look, even after the martyr, it doesn't mean death, Luke. It just means as a witness.
No, I guarantee you with the Catholics, a martyr is only a person who's dead. But yeah, it is true. You technically, in the church's eyes, you would still be called a martyr if you had just gone through torture, and then been released. Okay, merchants, messengers, metal workers, midwives, meteorologists. Wow, that's excellent. That's, yeah, somebody to pray to, you guys. Everybody. Motorcyclists, mountaineers, musicians, navigators. I'm just going through the list here. We're going to find some interesting stuff. The one that made me laugh hardest when I was going through this list was just hearing, like, there's a saint to pray to if you're shooting artillery, and there's another one to pray to if you're being hit with artillery. So, I mean, I can't believe it. Like, saints are fighting each other. You're literally calling them to fight each other. Okay, odd lot dealers. Like, what? Obstetricians, oil refiners, orphans. You would pray to this guy. All right, then. Painters. Okay, guys, this is just wicked. This is despicable. We can laugh, but we got to see how wicked this is. Do you know, guys, why they say you should pray to Luke, the evangelist who wrote the Gospel of Luke, if you're a painter? They have this wicked, wicked teaching. They say that Luke painted the first icon of the Virgin Mary. They teach that. This idea is completely ridiculous. It never happened. Luke, the disciple of Jesus, never would have painted Mary. Mary's face wouldn't have even been exposed because she was a Jewish virgin. She covered her face. But they actually have this ridiculous tradition. It appeared in the late 600s. That's the first time we ever hear anybody saying anything about it. So it's all modern and wicked. But they say St. Luke painting the Virgin is a devotional subject of art showing Luke the Evangelist painting the Virgin Mary. And so they actually believe that Luke did this, that he actually did this. And this is there's an icon of it if you want to see it. I think this is an icon of an icon. I mean, it's like iconception here. But they really believe that Mary did this. Like she would have taken off her veil and prostituted her face to Luke to be painted. And the Orthodox to this day, they believe they have an actual icon of Mary painted by Luke. And it's also ridiculous. It never happened. Anyway, that's why you pray to Luke. The lore is deep here, guys. Forget about Skyrim lore and all the other lore you used to care about. If you want to learn lore, if you want to waste your time, just learn about just all the deep evil things that the Catholics and the Orthodox are engaged in, all the fake histories they've invented, all the lies they tell, how they slander Luke, how they slander Mary. They just slandered Mary Magdalene above by saying you should pray to her if you're a hairdresser, as if she were still a harlot and she was approving of harlots who were doing that kind of stuff. So if you're a paratrooper, definitely pray to Michael the Archangel. Why wouldn't you? Duh. If you're a pawnbroker, peasant, perfumers, well, I don't think Christians are into that. Maybe like in a really unique situation. So plowboys, plasterers, plumbers, poets, police dispatchers. If you're a politician, you would pray to Thomas the Apostle. I mean, I didn't even need anybody to tell me that. It's so obvious. What in the world does Thomas have to do with politicians? I have no idea. But you guys know you're not allowed to be a politician if you're a Christian. It's amazing. So if you're a pope, of course you're going to pray to Peter.
Poor students.
The poor students, yeah. Definitely pray to this guy, Joseph, who is floating. What is he doing? I don't even know. Oh, he's a Christian mystic. Guys, whenever you see the Catholics say that there's a guy who's a mystic, Christian mystic, like you can look up this category, Christian mysticism. A Christian mystic, guys, is a person who claims to receive visions. And the Catholics and the Orthodox, but especially the Catholics, have a whole list of these people they call mystics, and they'll claim that they saw Jesus, that they like get visions from Jesus and Mary and all the apostles. One of the who's that Christian mystic? She thinks she can fly around. What was her name? It was one of the Marys. Was it Mary of Igreda? Mystic flying to South America. It was one of the Marys, or maybe it was who was that Mary? No, you're right. It was. It wasn't Mary of Igreda. It's one of those others. Oh, I want to say like.
Gruntilda?
No, they've got one mystic. She claimed that she could like fly around wherever she wanted in her sleep and like visit people in her sleep. But the mystics are Agatha. Yeah, maybe it's an Agatha. No, it's one of those. Somebody knows. Somebody watching our video knows who we're talking about. But they really believe this stuff. They're Christian mystics. Most of them are just the most blasphemous people. Totally puffed up with pride and insanity. Okay, we've got preachers. Well, if you're a preacher, of course you are going to pray to Catherine, a woman. Makes sense. Priests pray to this random guy named John. Princes. Yeah, you're not allowed to be a prince. You got to give that up. Pyrotechnicians, go ahead and pray to Erasmus. Radio workers, radiologists. Royal electrical mechanical engineers. Saddle makers, saddlers, sailors. Let's see here, salespeople, scholars. Man, oh man. Sculptors. Yeah, we're just looking through the list here. Let's see if we can find some really funny ones. But they believe this, guys. They're not joking when they say this. They're saying, if you pray to these people, they really will, these saints really will help you with these specific things. And guys, when they say to pray to specific saints for specific helps, they're saying like that's practical, like that's logical, because some of these saints really do have a special vocation, like that God gave them this role. Like, listen, Mary Magdalene, come here. There's some hairdressers up there, or should I say down there, because they believe all these saints are in heaven. But the early church says all these saints are actually waiting, assuming any of them even are saints. But they say they're actually in heaven, when actually they're in reality they're in paradise, and they'll say, God calls over Mary Magdalene. Listen, we got some hairdressers down there, and they need your help. Like, some of them are not very good hairdressers, and they really need to get on the ball. So go ahead and like guide their hands or something so that they're better at hairdressing, and use your powers. All right. Don't expect me to explain how that works exactly, but yeah, they're helping out with that stuff, with stone cutting, stone masons. They're helping out here. Clement. Which Clement is stone? They're saying Clement of Rome is the patron saint of stone cutters? All right. All right.
Because they cut the ship
Because they cut the ship.
anchor.
I doubt it. I doubt that's what it is. Oh my goodness! I was joking before. I was joking, Aramis, when I said that saying that Mary Magdalene is the patron saint of harlotry. I'm like, how could you do that when she repented of her harlotry? That's like saying Matthew is the patron saint of tax collectors, and they actually made him the patron saint of tax collectors.
The forbidden profession.
Like a forbidden profession. It's just unbelievable. I cannot believe these people. So television workers, tent or test takers. Yeah. All right then. Just unbelievable. Like, look at how many tanners there are. Like, you would pray to Bartholomew, Catherine of Alexandria, Clement, Crispin, John the son of Zebedee, John the apostle, John the evangelist, some guy named Lawrence, and Simon the tanner. All right, all those people if you're into tanning. All right, and thieves who repent, you've got somebody to pray to. Theologians, pray to Disgusting, one of the worst theologians. He'll help you with your theology. So if you're seeking lost items or people, Anthony, pray to Anthony. This is the guy that you pray to if you lose your car keys. I know that a lot of people say they pray to Anthony of Padua if they lose their car keys. And I guys, there are Catholics out there. They'll put their testimonies on YouTube. They'll say, "Listen, man, I started praying to Anthony lately, and I just haven't been losing stuff. Like I know where everything is now. Anthony's been helping me out," and they're not joking. Ray, you need to keep a little list in your pocket. Okay, that's how you remember. Okay, toy makers, Claude, pray to him. Translators, trappers, travelers, trust makers. We're almost done. There are more than just these, just so you know, guys. This is like the short list. So, vinegar makers, if you ever wondered, like who you're supposed to pray to. If you make vinegar, there's somebody to pray to for that. Vine dressers, vine growers, vintners. That's a person engaged in winemaking. Did you guys know that the word wine comes from the word vine? It's like the Latin version. Because wine comes from vine, because obviously it's grape juice from the vine. And did you know vinegar, it comes from that same word, vine? Vinegar, it comes from the word wine, winegar, and gar means bitter. So vinegar just means bitter wine. Did you guys know that? If you let wine ferment for long enough, it becomes vinegar. There's a little tidbit of knowledge if you didn't know that already. Waiters, washerwomen, wax melters, weavers, wheelwrights, wine growers, wine makers. Man, you have so many people to pray to for wine. Working people, pray to Joseph. Women seeking a husband, woodcarvers, woodworkers. I mean, so ridiculous. Oh, look, they've still got Anthony of Padua because he's the guy you pray to if you've lost something. So if you're a woman like seeking a husband, yeah, Anthony, he's got his work cut out for him. Well, there you go, guys. I thought I'd just give you a list, a nice short list. But no, there really is one. Like, they only gave the one for like if you're handling the artillery cannons. There's somebody else to pray to if you're on the receiving end of it. It's
What do we call it? Receiving artillery?
Yes. Oh, look, this is an even more exhaustive one. Look at this. Deafness. Dental diseases. Definitely pray to Apollonia if you've got. Oh, and desperate situations. Listen, just pray. If you're in a desperate situation, we got to read another one, guys. Look, there's another list. I told you, that was by no means exhaustive. Are you guys enjoying this? Yeah.
This is great.
It's too funny, isn't it? I know. Well, I know. All right, Jeff, to give you a recap what we're looking at, we're looking at a list of patron saints. Now, the Orthodox, by the way, guys, they think this is ridiculous. The Orthodox say, no patron saints. That's crazy. But the Catholics have the idea, it's very similar to the Greek Pantheon. It's the idea that each of the saints, as long as a pope has declared this, that any pope that or any saint that the pope has declared to be a saint, to be a patron saint, that person has special powers. So you would pray to these specific Christians who have passed away in order to receive power from them. And it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of the power that saints have. Because in reality, when their souls go down to paradise, they're down there in paradise. They're not on the earth anymore. And yet the Catholics don't understand, neither do the Orthodox, that the souls go down to paradise and are waiting for the resurrection in order to go to heaven. They believe that these people are already in heaven. And they believe that they have to go back down to get their new body, and then they go back to heaven again. But in reality, they're waiting for their new bodies, and they don't have any power. The saints are not, they don't have that kind of power to just go floating around the earth doing whatever they want. The saints' souls are enclosed in paradise. They are in a specific geographical location. They cannot just be everywhere all at once, hearing all these prayers and performing all these miracles like the Catholics say they do. But the Catholics really do think that Mary is in heaven right now. They believe that she can fly around and appear to people and just perform miracles whenever she wants. And the Orthodox believe that too. That is one thing that the Orthodox believe. And the Orthodox believe that all the saints have these powers, but they just don't agree with what the Pope has declared their powers are. So the Orthodox don't have like an official list of patron saints. So a lot of these are the same, you've got, but wow, these are different. This is like a completely different list. There's so many, guys, so many patron saints. So anybody who's abandoned, pray to Luigi. Don't get mixed up and pray to Mario. It's Luigi here you're praying for. You got abuse victims. Pray to these two people. Accommodations, accountants, actors. adopted children. If you live in Africa, pray to Our Lady of Africa. If you guys ever see them saying Our Lady of this or Our Lady of that, it's always Mary. They call her Lady. Our Lady of this and Our Lady of that. Lady is like it's like a female version of Lord. You get it? So if you're a woman
Yeah.
Lord, that makes you a lady.
The church I used to go with my parents, it was called the Our Lady in Heaven.
Yes, and of course she's not in
Yeah.
heaven. She's also not a lady anymore. She's actually male. That's what the early church always taught. That when you go to heaven, that you're separated from your body, or your old. When you go to heaven, you get a new body that is glorified, and it no longer has genitals. It doesn't have the marks of the female sex, or even of the male sex anymore. It's this body that is now neutral, and the default actually is, even in the soul, the default is male. There are no female souls. There are no female angels. God is not female. Jesus is not female. But yeah, they even actually call Mary Lord of Lords. Just so you know, guys, one of her titles is Lady of Lords. So they couldn't miss it. I bet some demon was laughing his head off when he got them to call her Lord of Lords, just to spite Jesus. Yes. So agriculture. Oh, this is a good one. Aramis, did you know if you've got AIDS, you go ahead and pray to this guy? Oh my goodness. What do you do with these people? What do you do with these people? All right, I'm not even going to say anything. I don't even need to say anything.
What do you pray to if you're old?
What?
If you're old.
If you're old? Air Force, alcoholism. Guys, if you're an alcoholic, pray to Matthias. I don't know why. Just pray to him. So, alcoholism and alcoholics. That's two different people to pray for. All right, then. Altar boys and girls. Altar servers, the Americas. Pray to this guy if you live in the Americas. Or just America. Then just pray to Juan Diego. I wonder if that's the same. I don't know. Okay, we already saw anesthesiologists. Pray to Catherine. She'll help you if you're anti-abortion. I don't even know what that means. Archers. Arm pain. We've got Amelia to help you with some arm pain if you got it. Or arthritis. Yeah. Auto roots. I guess John the Baptist will help you guys. Because remember, it's so fun. You know why they say he'll help you with your auto root, right, Aramis? Because the prophecy said that John the Baptist would make Jesus' path straight. Make his path straight, prepare the way of the Lord. Yeah. So he's making your path straight, guys. Get it? It's almost like they just did this as a bunch of like jokes.
It's a game.
It's a game to them. All right, yeah, these are the people you pray to. Here we go. Those named Benjamin. That's oddly specific. If anybody is named Benjamin, pray to Benjamin. Okay? Biracial people, you guys know. I mean, this might be the most important one. If you are biracial, that is something to pray about. Like, just get on that immediately. Like, Lord help me. I'm biracial. Bird flu, blackbirds, blacksmiths, blind people. What? How is it that blind and blind people? It's two separate things. But anyway, they're doing this because Raphael, in the book of Tobit, which is scripture, he came and helped Tobit, who had gone blind. But it wasn't because of his blindness, or I don't know. I guess he did end up showing him how to heal his blindness. That's true. Okay. Blood ranks? What? Or blood banks? Okay, blood banks. Pray to Januarius. I don't know, guys. I'm not sure I want to give money to a blood bank. I've give blood to a blood bank. I've done it before, guys. I confess it. I feel like I have to confess that, but it just doesn't feel right. I'm not ever going to do that anymore. There's something so wrong about it. I know you're not eating the blood. I know that the Jehovah's Witnesses are very against that. Not that I really care what they have to say, but I think there's just something so strange about it. And they use the explanation that we shouldn't be drinking blood. I'll have to look into it. I'm not going to teach anything about it because I haven't heard the early church talk about it. I mean, Jesus gives us his blood, but that's in a spiritual sense. I don't know. It's just strange. Okay, if you got breast cancer, go ahead and pray to Agatha. Brides, pray to these three. If you live in Brindisi, Italy, go ahead and pray to Theodore. If you got broken bones, you got that guy. Bruises, butchers. If you got cancer, you got two people to pray to. Cancer patients, now that's something quite different, isn't it? You pray to Mr. Giles. Caregivers, carpenters, catechists, Catholic education. Cats! If you guys got a cat, you know who to pray to. I mean, guys, just imagine like this actually happening. God is telling all these saints, "Look, you're the saint of this. You're the patron saint. You've got the power over cattle." Like, how do they do that exactly? Like,
You
what
get
are?
the cats. Oh, I want dogs.
It's like, oh man, I'm over cats. Yeah, and then sometimes you got multiple people because they fought over that one. Like, I want to be over the cobblers. That's a prestigious job. Coffee houses, cold college students, comedians. I mean, the Catholics are the greatest comedians. Computers. Now, of course, guys, if you are having computer problems, you want to pray to Isidore of Seville. And the reason for that is because Isidore lived in the 600s. I mean, so they, of course, people didn't start praying to him for that until like 1400 years later when when computers were invented, but he was happy to hear that, like that he had a new job description,
He
like
was on standby for the
he was waiting to perform his role of fixing your computer. I mean, so contemplatives, guys, if you are contemplative, pray to John. He's going to help you with that. If you're a convert, pray to Olga. She's going to help you convert harder. Uh, I mean, what does that even mean? Like, if you're a convert, pray to this woman named Olga. Like, what? If I'm a convert to the Christian faith, who am I praying to? I mean, I'm praying to God. Let's try praying to God if we're converting to the religion Christ gave us. Okay. All right. Dental diseases, of course. You've got Apollonia. Desperate situations, such as if you're reading this list of patron saints. That is a desperate situation. You've got 2 Judes to pray for. 3 Judes. What? Why do they have Jude, Thaddeus? Is that real? Are those really 2 separate Judes? I don't know. Okay, if you got diabetes, obviously pray to Jose Maria. Or difficult marriages, pray to these people. Or if you live in the diocese of Ossory, Ireland, yeah. So there's dogs. What does that even mean? Doves. Doves, pray to David. Okay, drug abuse, dying, dysentery. Go ahead and pray to Polycarp. I mean, he's got to be insulted by that. The only thing they pray to Polycarp is dysentery. Man, earache. You've got somebody for earache. Wait, earache and against earache. You got me on that one. You see how guys they just like they're winging it. Like this is just a joke to them. What does even any of this mean? So ridiculous.
Polycarp's dysentery and against earache.
Yes, dysentery and earaches. I don't know. You guys are probably not very edified by this, but it's just too much, isn't it? If you guys have never actually looked into the Catholic Church, I mean, if you have a good and honest heart, guys, the more you look into it, the more absurd you'll see it all is. But of course, the worst things that they do are murder and adultery and abuse of children. And guys, whenever you have a denomination that is known for those things, that they used to burn people at the stake for being heretics or what they perceive to be heretics, because oftentimes they burn people who are not actually heretics, but they'll burn you alive if you don't believe what they believe, whether true or false. Does Christ want us to do that? We've got this great quote. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Let's see if I can pull it up from my Orthodox. Let me look this up here. I'm going to look it up first and second. It's Thomas Aquinas. Let's find my quote from Thomas Aquinas. Let's see here. I found this great quote. Oh man, I'll never be able to find it, Aramis. It was such a great quote from Thomas. Let's look it up on Google. He gives a very good reason, guys, a very good reason for why we have to burn people at the stake. He lived in the 1200s. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see here. Warning. No, it's not there. He had such a good interpretation of Titus. Oh, I'll never find it again. Anyway, I found this quote from Thomas where he's interpreting. Here we go. This is it. I found it. He says, okay, I found it. Look at that. I was just scrolling randomly and I found Thomas Aquinas' great quote about how we should treat heretics. So Thomas Aquinas, guys, is the chief teacher in the Catholic Church. He's their most respected teacher, and he lived in the 1200s, and he also believed that Mary had sin, which is why he actually got excommunicated posthumously. After he died, they went and excommunicated Thomas Aquinas, and then they unexcommunicated him. Of course, they believe that they have that power, that they can kind of like, you're like in heaven, and then like, sorry, you're not in heaven. Never mind, come out of heaven, go back in the fire. All right, never mind, we changed our mind. You're out of the fire, back in heaven. Anyway, they think they have that power, but of course they cannot determine who is in heaven and who is not. They're going to find out on Judgment Day. Okay, but anyway, here's Thomas Aquinas. With regard to heretics, 2 points must be observed. One, on their own side, the other on the side of the church. On their own side, there is the sin, whereby they deserve not only to be separated from the church by excommunication, but also to be severed from the world by death. For it is a much graver matter to corrupt the faith that quickens the soul, meaning that gives life to the soul, than to forge money, which supports temporal life. So he's saying it's a lot worse of a thing to corrupt somebody's soul than to like kill their body or hurt them. And guys, that's actually true. That is actually a fact. The worst kind of murder is not being like a serial killer and just like killing people randomly or torturing them. The worst kind of torture and murder are spiritual torture and murder. That would be when somebody teaches you false doctrine. That would be when you, as a new convert to the faith, want to learn about the faith and you want to be a Christian, you want to serve the Lord, and then some person comes along and snatches you and starts teaching you all these lies about God, and they prevent you from actually being born again. Or you may get born again, but then you just end up dying again right after that. And guys, that is what true abortion is. You understand, abortion, what we see in life of seeing a baby come out of the womb dead and mangled, that's just an illustration. That's a picture of something that happens in the spiritual realm that's real, and it's much realer than even what we see in the physical realm. When a person is aborted spiritually, that's when they were conceived spiritually. They received God's word. It was preached to them, and they heard it, and they had it with joy, and they began to grow and develop, but then they were killed prematurely by their teacher, which would be their mother. Whoever's teaching you, that's like your mother. It's your teacher. You know how Paul says that? He says, my little children with whom I am again in labor, because he's the one teaching them. My little children with whom I am again in labor. He calls himself a woman, basically. It's Galatians 4:19 through 20. He says, my little children, of whom I travail in birth again, until Christ be formed in you. So he's saying, guys, like you know, it's like I'm pregnant with you, and you're like growing and slowly maturing to look like Christ. And that's all of us. Like Mary, even though we don't worship Mary like the Catholics and Orthodox, we do recognize many symbols in Mary. That Mary is a picture of the church, that she actually had Christ growing inside of her, growing up to maturity. And that's how it is really, guys, because all Christians are supposed to resemble Christ. And so all of us are growing and maturing. So anyway, yeah, that's a spiritual abortion if somebody leads you astray. And remember what Jesus said about that. If anybody causes one of these little ones to stumble, one of these little ones who believes in me to stumble, it'd be better for him if he were, drowned in the depths of the sea. He says that would be a better outcome than for what's actually going to happen to them in the afterlife. So anyway, so here's Thomas Aquinas. He does make a good point. He's correct about this part. It's a much graver matter to corrupt the faith that gives life to the soul than to forge money, which supports temporal life. But then let's hear what he says about how he thinks we should go ahead and execute heretics. He says, wherefore, if forgers of money and other evildoers are forthwith condemned to death by the secular authority, much more reason is there for heretics, as soon as they are convicted of heresy, to be not only excommunicated, but even put to death. On the other part of the church, however, there is mercy, which looks to the conversion of the wanderer. Wherefore she condemns not at once, but after the first and second warning. So he's quoting Paul in Titus, where he says, reject a heretic after a first and second warning. If you guys have read that in Titus. Here, I'll show you. I think it's in... Yeah, this is what Paul says. He says, reject, and I know in this translation it says, a factious man. Here, let me just get ESV. Pretty sure that's better. He says, man, nobody's got it right. Some of them say a person who stirs up division, but the word is just heretic in the Greek. Paul says, reject a heretic after first and second warning, knowing that such a man is perverted and is sinning, being self-condemned. Now, what do you guys think Paul means when he says reject a heretic? Does he mean execute him? Like, execute anybody who has false doctrine after a first and second warning. You guys really think that's Christianity? Like, we just go executing people if they don't believe the faith? That is absolutely wicked, absolutely despicable. But that's Thomas Aquinas' interpretation. He says, on the part of the church, however, there is mercy, which looks to the conversion of the wanderer, wherefore she condemns not at once, but after the first and second admonition, as the apostle directs. That's right. Yeah, go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I command you. And if somebody doesn't believe, go ahead and just burn that guy at the stake after the first and second warning. I mean, that's really what they believe, guys. That's how despicable they are. And you can be sure they'd still be doing it to this day. The Catholic Church would still be murdering people if it hadn't become socially unacceptable and they hadn't lost political power. But when they were in power, guys, wherever they had political power, they executed anybody they want. They had actual torture chambers underneath the Vatican where they had tons of people. We don't even know how many people. It could have been in the hundreds. It could have been in the thousands. We don't know. But, I mean, Vatican has a massive underground lair, and they have libraries and stuff under the Vatican and everything. But yeah, they used to torture people. So anyway, okay, that's how Thomas Aquinas interprets it. Go ahead and execute him after the first and second warning. After that, if he is yet stubborn, the church, no longer hoping for his conversion, looks to the salvation of others by excommunicating him and separating him from the church, and furthermore delivers him to the secular tribunal to be exterminated, thereby from the world by death. Unbelievable. Okay, now what were we reading here? Yeah.
Oh, John Chrysostom. Epilepsy.
Epilepsy. Yeah, okay, we've got eye disease, expectant mothers. John Chrysostom, guys, if you got epilepsy, pray to John Chrysostom. Or environment. If you happen to live like in an environment, pray to Kateri. And eye disease, or eye diseases, that would go up a notch. It's almost like Odelia, she can help you if you've got one eye disease, but if you've got multiple, you need to go upper echelon for that one. Like, she just doesn't have as much power as Lucia here. And now eye problems, you just go right back to Odelia, because apparently Lucia cannot handle that. All right, this is kind of a waste of time, but we're just having a good time right now. Yeah, firefighters, fishermen. Fathers, yes. Pray to
lots of great fathers out there, but
Joachim and Joseph. I mean, they were two excellent fathers. It's true. Oh boy. All right. Against frenzy. Funeral directors. Excellent. Girl Scouts. I mean, what? Girl Scouts? Guys, that is not allowed. God does not allow Girl Scouts. Girls running around out in the forests, leaving home. Guys, I mean, the church has always taught that women are to stay at home. Women are not to go be outdoorsmen or having careers or running around in the wild with other men. It's ridiculous. Oh, boy. Yes. Against hailstorms. So, guys, like, Barnabas has power over the air. You know how the demons were said to be the princes and powers of the air? Apparently, the saints, like, they control the weather. You would pray to St. Barnabas. That's our Barnabas who wrote the first epistle of Barnabas. You'd pray to him to help you out, like to calm the hailstorm. Is this not insane? Like, not only do they have the power to, like, heal you of things, but they control the weather. Head injuries, headache. You got a headache, guys. You got a lot of people to pray to here. Homeless, and then homeless people. Now, if you happen to be homeless but you're not a person, these are the three people you would pray to. Hospitality, housekeepers, hunters, huntsmen.
Hunters, Nimrod.
Yes. If you're a hunter, pray to Nimrod. That's a joke from Genesis. Against illness. Incest victims, you've got Winifred to pray to. Excellent. If you're an infant, I guess they're saying like if your infant has a problem, but I'm making a joke. If you have infertility, go ahead and pray to Sarah, who was barren. It's ridiculous, guys. Like, they think that Sarah, Abraham's wife, is going around performing miracles and taking away people's infertility. Crazy. Just crazy. And by the way, I'm sure some Catholics or Orthodox, if they thought I was ignorant enough, they would say something like, we don't think that they actually have the power to do that. We think that they are going to intercede on your behalf and ask God to do it for you. But is, we just read the article, guys. We just read what they were saying about burying Joseph in your yard. I mean, do they think that Joseph is just going to ask God to do it for you, or do they think he actually has the power to sell your house? The way they talk about it, Joseph is the one like making it happen. And they believe like when Joseph is upside down in your yard, like he is actually uncomfortable. That's what they teach. Put the statue upside down in your yard. Here, how you bury him depends on which source you consult and your own preference. But the most frequently mentioned method is that you should bury him upside down in the front yard, facing the house. This placement assures he will work hard to sell the right house. For condo dwellers and those who don't have a yard, bury St. Joseph in a pot near the front door. You can wrap him in protective cloth or put him in a bag, as the previous owners of our home did, to keep him protected from the elements. It also seems more respectful.
Put him upside down in the pot.
You put him in a pot.
It's more respectful.
All right. Look, and no, you don't have to be Catholic or even a Christian to put your faith in Saint Joseph. So it's not just a Catholic thing, guys. All right. Author and homeowner Erica Orloff describes herself as an atheist, or at least a very cynical agnostic, but she grew up with the tradition of her grandparents' Catholic faith. I have my grandparents' crucifixes on my walls and carry mass cards and assorted Catholic items in my purse. It still felt like a natural thing for me. A cross between superstition and a talisman. No, this is pure superstition. This is satanic and ridiculous. And they have so many little traditions, guys. They have all kinds of little things. If you go into the Catholic Church, they're going to convince you that you need to have your house blessed, that you need to have a priest go into your home and sprinkle holy water on every single wall of your house while repeating a prayer like over 100 times, well over 100 times, and that your house will be blessed. Okay.
They think God is this robot, man.
They just have no relationship with God, and they will protest and say, no, we really do. We do love Jesus. We try not to forget about him when we're praying to all these people. Jesus is Lord, but so is Mary. She's Lord of Lords. She's Lady of Lords. Okay, innkeepers, internet. Pray to Isidore for internet connection. See, I wonder when that happened. Like, as soon as the internet was invented, somebody grabbed Isidore and said, we got a new job for you, Isidore. What does he actually do? Like, imagine Isidore actually interceding on your behalf if your internet went out. Sometimes my internet goes out. Like, Isidore, please help the internet to come back on. And so internet goes...
Man, the internet's out, bro. Gotta start praying.
Yeah, and so Isidore goes to God. He's like, Lord, the internet's out. Make it come back on. I just don't even know what to do with these people. But no, they do believe that they have superpowers. I was about to say that, guys. They do believe that the saints can even bodily appear on earth wherever they want and perform miracles. That is something that they believe. They believe that about Mary more than any other. They believe that Mary can appear on earth and perform miracles and heal people. So in case anybody says, oh, we don't actually believe that about these saints, we just think they're interceding, you should look up the things they say, actually, because they have a lot of stories where they claim these saints appeared and performed these miracles. And part of the reason why, guys, you need to understand where souls go when you die is so that you can refute these people, because they believe many of these people are already in heaven and are glorified and have supernatural power, which we don't contest that may be the case, that you may actually have powers, although it's not described to us. But when you go to heaven, you may have powers. God may give you powers. But that won't be while your soul is waiting in paradise for its glorification. It's gonna happen after the resurrection. That's what the church has always taught. So, no, Isidore hasn't got any power, assuming he's even saved. And I would hope that these people are saved, but unfortunately, some of these people are really wicked if you look into them, if you look into their life. A lot of them are mystics, and these mystics have some of the most outlandish, evil ideas. And, again, guys, the more you look into it, the more crazy you're going to find out the Catholic Church is, because so many of these people, like the mystics, the Catholic Church, has condemned as heretics and said these people are insane, out of their minds. And then other popes would come along after them, like sometimes hundreds of years later, and say, actually, we're gonna unexcommunicate that soul. We're gonna say that soul is not burning in the fires of hell, but is actually in heaven right now. Everybody goes, oh, excellent, let's start praying to them now. So they think they have that power. Yes. So if you got a large family, or if you're a lace maker. Lectors, lectures, leprosy. Of course, you're going to pray to Lazarus. Liberal arts, librarians, lightning. What does that even mean? Lightning, like you're afraid of lightning striking you, you ask Victor, because he's got power over the lightning. Unfortunately, you're going to have to move fast on that one, guys. It is lightning we're talking about here. I mean, Victor's going to have to, Victor, all right, I got it, I'm on it. So the lightning doesn't get you. Do you wait until you're struck, or do you just see the lightning, going crazy outside, and you just start
It's
asking?
preventative.
Okay, this is preventative. It's too late if you've already been struck by the lightning. Okay, those named Lillian. Wow, very specific. Lost articles. Remember, guys, Anthony of Padua. He will help you if you lost your car keys. Let's see here. Lost causes. That would be the Catholic Church. Lung problems. Maids, mariners. Mental illness. That's what we're looking at here. Metal workers. No, this is demonic, guys. I mean, let's laugh about it. The church fathers do say that. Tertullian says that we are gleeful when we see heretics. Or we can laugh at heresy, guys. We should. It deserves to be mocked. So we're doing a righteous thing right now by mocking foolishness. But we know that it's evil too. But this is righteous. See, you guys don't need movies and video games. Just go ahead and read lists like this. Look into the Catholic Church. Find out all the insanity of what these people teach. I always get good laughs. I never stop laughing from studying history. Okay, mountain climbers, mountaineers, musicians, natives, nervous diseases, never failing hope. Oh, there it is. There's Mary. Whenever you see Our Lady of anything, that's Mary. And if you happen to live in New Orleans, Louisiana, go ahead, pray to Mary. So notaries, nuns, nurses, orators. I should be looking on the right more, because I've already noticed some of the people they name are bad people. So, yeah, painters. So wicked that they name Luke, because they have this wicked tradition that he told Mary to take off her veil and painted her face, which is wicked. She was a virgin. She covered her face. She would never show anybody her face. Loss of parents. Pastry chefs. Oh, yeah. And peace, if you want some peace. Pray to Isabella. Penitent criminals, penitent sinners, pharmacists, philosophers, photographers, physicians, pilgrims, pilots, and against plague, poison sufferers, if you live in Poland, police officers. Guys, Christians are not allowed to be police officers. That is forbidden. We may not execute anybody. We may not be violent with people. And we may not be joined in government. And if you're a police officer, you're both a government official and you're told to be violent and to kill. We're not allowed to do that. So they're telling you to pray to Michael and this other person named Miguel. Oh, that's just Michael. I get it. San Miguel Archangel. That's just St. Michael the Archangel. Yeah, they're saying pray to Michael if you're a police officer. Again, Michael got that job as soon as police officers, were invented. Possessed people. Possessed people should pray to St. Bruno. POWs, priests, sprinters, prison guards. I don't know, guys. We could go on all night. Anybody want to talk about anything else? I'm open to any discussion, guys. Yes, you're right, Maurice. You figured out. This is Greek mythology mixed with Christianity. All right, guys. That was it. I could go through all this rheumatism. Oh my goodness. You guys know what rheumatism is? Reformed alcoholics. Pray to Catherine if somebody's being racist towards you. Sawmen. Servers. Sick children. Yeah, also ridiculous. Soldiers. Guys, Christians are not allowed to be soldiers. That is forbidden. Yep. Again, storms. You pray to a human being to help the storm go away. Human beings don't have that
What
power.
does sudden death mean? What?
Barbara. Yeah, surgeons. And those named Susanna, go ahead and pray to Susanna. Duh. Tailors, teachers, teenage girls, television, theologian, throat ailments. It's crazy out here. U.S. Army Special Forces. Guys, if you're a Christian, you're not allowed to be in the U.S. Army Special Forces. That is forbidden. That is, they wouldn't even accept you as a catechumen if you were in in the well, if you wanted to take military oath, you could not be a catechumen. And if you had already taken a military oath, you would have to, in order to be even instructed about the faith by the church, they would say, listen, you need to take an oath right now to never kill anybody. You have to promise you are never going to kill anybody. You're not going to be violent anymore. But they don't care. Yep, weavers, whitewashers, women's army corps. It just doesn't get any more wicked. I'm glad I read the rest of it. Like women in the army. Only thing worse than men killing people is women going and joining the army. You guys all seen those commercials of women coming home from the army on furlough to go and see their babies, and there's their husband sitting on the couch being a stay-at-home dad while the mom goes off to war. That's the world we live in, but Catholic Church is all for it. They say that's good stuff.
Luke, I got a question.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't fight or kill. So if you get drafted to the war, you're done, essentially. Or do I have the choice to not go and to refuse?
Well, the concept of a conscientious objector started in World War II. They never had this thing called a conscientious objector, but it was basically where people were saying, there were some, you guys all have heard of the movie Hacksaw Ridge, right? It's a famous story about this guy named Desmond Doss. He was the first conscientious objector. They drafted him in the military, and he said, I refuse to kill anybody. So, of course, they did what governments do. They threw him in prison. They said, you're going to be court-martialed. You've been drafted. You must serve your country. You're required to kill for our country, for our stupid war that we started, or that we decided to intervene in and interfere with, that we never should have gotten involved in. And so they threw him in a what do they call it? A military prison. And they tortured him a little bit too.
Is it a good watch?
It's extremely graphic. It's made by Mel Gibson, and there's a little bit. There's foolishness in it, but anyway, it's about him that he actually caused the military to reform this policy. They said, all right, fine. We will, they caved under pressure because there was a little bit of political pressure, but he's a Seventh-day Adventist, so that meant he was a pacifist, and they said, all right, we'll make an exception for you, but you're not allowed to leave the military. You will still have to go into battle. You just can't have any weapons with you since you say you're not going to kill. So he was a medic, and he helped. It's a true story. He helped. He helped both his fellow comrades who were falling in battle, and he was also giving medical aid to enemies.
So I don't have to kill people.
No, you can be a conscientious objector if you live in America and they draft you. You can be a conscientious objector, and they'll release you. But if you would live back then, they would just send you into battle without weapons, and you could be a medic, or you could just choose not to get involved at all, which is also perfectly fine. You could just say, "Oh, you're just going to have to kill me." Yeah. Yes, sir. That's funny, Xavier. All right, teenage girls. Once you hit 20, stop praying. They aren't going to listen. Too funny.
Hey, it's a possibility too, just for people that know, whoever's young in here, because I heard they thinking about drafting. They thinking about this war.
Hey guys.
Israel.
Hey guys, you're not allowed to join an army. Do we need to read it to you right now? It's forbidden.
If they try to draft me, I say break a leg. I'm gonna rip my leg.
Good, Ozil. That's exactly what you say.
Yeah, break a leg.
That's exactly what you say.
They're like a story. Some old man son had to go to war, but the old man just broke his leg, so they had to go to war.
Yeah, they the Catholics like this verse. The Catholics and Orthodox, if they ever do meet any pacifists, most people who go against the idea of no longer being violent with people, they like to go to this verse in Luke 3, where after John the Baptist was preaching, it says, and the crowds were questioning him, then what shall we do? And he would answer and say to them, the man who has 2 tunics is to share with him who has none, and he who has food is to do likewise. And some tax collectors also came to be baptized. Now, guys, have you seen Nolan's video about tax collectors? This is very pertinent. I know I didn't spell anything correctly. Who cares? All right, Nolan made this great video, guys. We actually have a lot of information about what tax collectors used to do. and how they would make their profit. But the way tax collectors made their profit was basically they'd be commissioned to go off and collect the taxes that their governor told them to collect. Hey Ray, hey, it's relaxing. Anyway, they'd go off, and guys, the way that these tax collectors would collect their quotas is they would actually tell people to collect more than basically the kings would say, you tax collector, in order to motivate you to collect the taxes, everything that we told you to, we're going to allow you to make profit off of anything beyond what we told you to collect. That will just be pure profit for you, and that'll be how you make your living. So tax collectors would make money by collecting more than what was prescribed, more than was the limit that was prescribed by the governor or the king. And people knew that. They knew that the tax collectors would rob them. And that was the way they made their living. It was the only way to make their living. So basically, when you hear John the Baptist respond to the tax collectors, and they say, what shall we do? How can we be saved? He says to them, collect no more than what you've been ordered to. Watch this video, guys. It explains what he actually is saying to them. I mean, he is saying, you basically cannot be tax collectors anymore. Like, go ahead and be a tax collector, but you're not going to make any profit from it anymore. And previously, the only way they made profit was by collecting more than they were allowed to. So he's basically just invalidating their occupation and saying, collect the taxes, but you're not going to make any money. So now it's just a waste of time to be a tax collector. You might as well get a different job. And then the soldiers come to him, and they ask the same thing. The soldiers were questioning him, saying, and what about us? What shall we do? Now, guys, people think that John the Baptist's response validates the occupation of being a soldier, but it doesn't. Look at what he said. He said to them, do not take money from anyone by force or accuse anyone falsely, and be content with your wages. Now, guys, in the Greek, he does not say, do not take money from anyone by force. He just says one word in the Greek, and this is like a huge transliteration. I'm going to go through. Let's see if any translation will be accurate in what he actually says here. Let's see here. Here's one translation. This is the English Standard. It says, do not extort money from anyone by threats. Well, is that what it actually says? Let's try a New King James. Of course, we can always look at the Greek, but I'm just showing you, sometimes the translations, guys, they just don't tell you the truth of what he's really saying here. So tax collectors, he says, collect no more than what is appointed to you. Soldiers say, what shall we do? And he says, do not intimidate anyone. Wow, I have to give New King James credit. That is actually what it says in the Greek. He says, don't intimidate anyone or accuse falsely or be content with your wages. The word he actually uses for intimidate means don't shake somebody violently or be intimidating with them. Now, guys, imagine saying that to a soldier. Like, what is the primary job of a soldier? Let's say you've got like a riot going on, you got some people who are acting, like getting a fight or something, and you call the soldiers. What is the job of the soldiers? What would you guys say is the job? Anybody? If they're supposed to break up some kind of crazy brawl or something, what are they supposed to do? I mean, like, your job as a soldier is to intimidate and to be violent if the intimidation doesn't work. But obviously, violence is a step up from intimidation. John the Baptist says you're not even allowed to intimidate anybody. He says you can't be violent, shaking anybody. Now, they, of course, if we look at the previous translations, they're like, oh, he's probably just like, he's talking about shaking them like extorting money from them. Yeah, that's probably what he's talking about, extorting money. That's not what he says in the Greek. He doesn't say do not take money from anyone by force. It literally is just shake or intimidate. That's what he says. Let's look it up. Luke 3, Greek interlinear. You guys can do this for any chapter in the Bible. For anybody who's new, you can look up what the original language says. So those soldiers saying, what shall we do also? And he said to them, no one extort nor accuse falsely. Let's see this word they're translating as extort. It means to shake violently, to intimidate. Some translations, oh, look at this. Wow, check that out. King James, like if you're not doing the King James, or the New King James, I didn't even know this. Wow, look at this. Look at this, Aramis. Look at what it says. They just do a flat-out translation of the soldiers likewise demanded of him, saying, what shall we do? And he said unto them, do violence to no man, neither accuse any falsely. So, I mean, that is literally what he's saying. I got to give them props for King James Bible. that they actually.
Yeah, they say it's like the most accurate Bible. That's why I use it.
Well, it's got some problems, but I gotta give them props. Sometimes there's some real real stinkers in the King James, but there's no perfect translation. But yeah, it just means to shake violently, to manhandle, to literally to shake them to and fro. And it's only used one time in the entire New Testament. To shake violently, to intimidate. That's and the New American Standard. See, now guys, what's the motivation for them translating as take money by force? Well, the motivation is, guys, they want to still be soldiers. So they're going to say, nah, he's not talking about being violent or intimidating people. He's just talking about stealing money. Yeah, stealing money. Don't steal money. No, guys, he's saying the same thing to the soldiers that he told the tax collectors. He says, you need to be done with your trade. You're not allowed to do that anymore. And you soldiers, you basically can't even be soldiers anymore. If you're going to remain a soldier, you can't act like a soldier. Yep. Watch this video Nolan made. It's a great video he made. So, yep, that's the situation, guys. Can't be violent with anybody. We pray for our fellow man. We don't go and hurt him. We love our enemies. If anybody slaps us on the face, we turn the other cheek. Almost no Christian actually follows that today. Try to find any Christian in America and, like, let's test it. Or just ask them. Like, if somebody actually walked up to you and actually hit you, like any of you who has a dad, ask your dad, or just any man you know, like somebody walks up and hits you in the face. What's going to be your immediate reaction? Like, you're going to just get in a brawl with him and just start beating on him, right? And like wrestling him and knocking him over. Nobody actually would do such a thing that Jesus tells them to do. Somebody hits you in the face, you turn the other cheek. Meaning you turn your face and you're like, yeah, that's fine. You can do it again. I'm not going to fight you. And if somebody steals from you, somebody wants to take your shirt, give him your coat too. Yeah, that's very radical. And Desmond Doss, who decided to not fight anybody because of his conviction, was righteous. If only he hadn't been a Seventh-day Adventist, though, because they have horrible heresies about Christ and about other things. Yeah, is that the only question you had, Ray? Yeah. Yeah, if anybody tries to draft you guys, you just say, no, I'm a conscientious objector. And you'll get the chance to say that. The problem is, guys, so many people who get drafted, they want to kill. They think that sounds cool. Like, on the one hand, they'll be like, man, it's kind of inconvenient. I'm going to have to go fight in a war, but that kind of sounds epic. I'll be a soldier. I'll be a hero. And they get lied to by everybody. And their family members like, oh, it's so sad to see you go, but I'm proud of you, son. I'm so proud of you. Fighting for our country. Killing people you don't know. Just slaughtering strangers who were commissioned to do the same thing as you. Just, they're leaving their homes, their families, their wives, their children, their moms, their dads, their siblings. They're just leaving because their country told them to go fight. Some stupid government said, hey, we got to take some land. Send the people into battle so we can have more territory. And so you just start slaughtering just strangers, somebody that you might have been friends with if you'd met under different circumstances. But because somebody told you to kill them, you're just going to shoot him in the face. You're going to make some woman a widow and make some children fatherless. Yeah. Go ahead, just do it, and see what happens on Judgment Day. God does not allow you to go fighting in war. Don't do it. So anybody who's considering it, drop it right now. Do not join any military. And if you're in a military, you have to decide and promise to God you're not going to be violent with people anymore. And if anybody's trying to be violent with you, you run away from that person. You try to get away, but you don't return evil for evil. You don't hit them back. If anybody's trying to hurt your family, put yourself in the way, get between them. But we aren't violent with people. And we try to escape. And we also try to appease our enemies. We are allowed to give a gift to somebody. Like if somebody's stealing from you, you realize you can win that person to the faith by giving to him, even more than what he's asking for, like Jesus said. In the scriptures it says you'll heap burning coals on his head. If you do that to an enemy, you do kindness to him. That's how many of the conversions happen in church history, is that there were Christians who were being persecuted horribly, and they just returned all that evil they were receiving, they just returned it with kindness. And people just can't stand it, guys. People cannot stand to have you do something kind to them when they've done something evil. They feel so ashamed. they humble themselves, they apologize. You should try it. Like, if you guys ever have wronged somebody, like in a conflict, we've talked about resolving conflicts before, and I'll talk about it one more time tonight, and then we'll go to bed. But the best way to resolve conflicts, guys, is to apologize for anything, even the smallest thing that you did wrong, and apologize as if you were 100% responsible for whatever caused the conflict. Even if the other person should be guilty of 80% of it and you're only guilty of 20%, or even if they were guilty of 99% of it and you're only guilty of 1%, you only did a tiny thing wrong in the midst of this. Maybe you didn't even start it. You just happened to do something in the midst of it that was wrong, that you regret, that you know you shouldn't have done. And you should own up to it and confess it and say, you know what, during our conversation I said this and I shouldn't have said that. That was wrong. That was completely uncalled for and it was offensive, and I want you to know I never want to offend you. I want to have a good relationship with you. I want you to be my friend. I want to have a good, strong brotherly bond with you, and I'm sorry for saying that. That was just insulting. Please forgive me and tell me what I can do to make up for it, because I never want you to think I don't love you. I really do love you. I want to be close to you, and I'm sorry for saying that. If you humble yourself like that, guys, you know what the result will be every single time if you do that with anybody, even the most arrogant, mean person. They will feel so uncomfortable hearing you apologize like that they'll say, nah, it was me too, man. I also, contributed to it. I also was sinning, I'm sorry too. They'll do it every single time. If you ever meet somebody who doesn't, somebody's like, yeah, you're right, you're completely guilty, when they know that they're guilty for the majority of it. I've never heard of such a thing. But if there is, you've still done your part. You've done the righteous thing by apologizing. And you're clear before God. And that person's just plain evil if they can hear you apologize so much and take full responsibility when they're responsible for most of it. But in the majority of cases, guys, the very vast majority of cases, if you humble yourself and apologize sincerely like that, not with a lame apology, not where you just say, I apologize, but where you actually say, I'm sorry, I regret it, that person will totally humble themselves just like you did. And they'll feel really bad. And again, guys, this is, Christians choosing not to retaliate, but being humble and being kind in the face of other evil people, turned the world upside down. And you have to see that if that's what being a Christian is, it's being radical. Yeah, I'm recording, Ray. Yeah, and that's how marriages and relationships fall apart too, is that one person gets offended and nobody ever resolves the conflict. People have these relationships and these marriages now where one person does something wrong and they just let this outstanding offense remain for the whole day and then the next day, and they don't talk about it. What they do is they just act like nothing happened. I've seen this a lot with people. I used to be amazed at Nolan's family because I hear them fight in the background sometimes, his mom and dad. He doesn't care if I tell you, but I've heard it. I've heard them fighting in the background and just screaming at each other sometimes. Like, some people do that in their relationships, like absolutely scream at the top of their lungs at each other. And then the next day, they just act like nothing ever happened. And it's not that they actually forgot about it. It's not that they forgave each other. They're just going to act like nothing happened. And then it repeats. It goes over and over again because since it was never resolved, guys, they still have animosity toward each other. They're still holding the grudge. And every time they have a new conflict, they remember all the past conflicts. It all comes bubbling back up to the surface, and the whole fight starts over again, even more fiercely than before. Guys, if you have any offenses like that you're guilty of, you've ever done to somebody, whether it's your sibling or your parents or your wife or your husband or whatever, you need to, after you remember those things, you need to go and resolve those things and humbly apologize for those things, even if they happened years ago. You need to just say, I was just thinking about something. Remember when I did that thing? That's been bothering my conscience, and I've never apologized to you for that. And I just want you to know how much I regret that. I really am ashamed that I ever acted that way. Please forgive me. And if there's any way I can make it up to you, just tell me what I can do for you. Because I don't want you to ever... I hope that you'll just forget I ever did that. I'm so ashamed about it. So just tell me what I can do, and I'll make it up to you. If you do that, guys, first of all, they'll always forgive you. And they'll be so impressed at you. They'll feel so loved that you did that for them, that you cared about them that much. And secondly, they'll never be able to pull that thing up again. They'll never bring it up again because you'll have been able to say, and in God's sight, this will be true, they forgave you for that. If they forgave you for it, they can't bring it up again. So guys, don't give people ammunition against you to bring up conflicts with you. Just resolve it all. Again, even if it was years ago. Even if you think they don't remember it, they might. And if it's especially somebody that you have conflicts with regularly, they might just have a bunch of offenses on their mind of things you did a long time ago. You should apologize for those things. Just clear the air, clear everything. Ask them, is there anything that I've done that offended you? And guys, don't be all weird about the word offending, because today it's like you're some kind of lame pansy. If you say that you're offended, they're like, oh, you're offended easily. Well, in God's sight, guys, offending actually is a sin. You're not allowed to offend your brother. So make sure. I mean, don't be embarrassed to use that word or to tell your brother in Christ that you were offended by something. Tell him, something you did hurt me. It offended me, and I want you to know, and I'd like to talk about it with you, and give them a chance to apologize about it. Talk to them about it in privately, not in public, and clear the air with people. If people did that in their marriages, guys, they'd have really good marriages. And the only thing better than knowing how to totally humble yourself in a relationship and apologize for anything wrong you did, the only thing better than that is to actually just avoid the conflicts altogether. And that whenever you see an occasion for conflict appear, when you see something happen, you go, oh no, this might be offensive. Oh no, I might have offended somebody, and now you got to go talk about it. You just head it off at the pass. You cut it off before it grows into some evil plant bearing horrible fruit. And you just say, I want you to know, if I offended you when I did that, I want you to know I'm sorry. I thought about it and I regret it. I'm sorry. You just do it before it becomes a conflict, guys. Just be wise. Don't let it fester and grow and come back to bite you. Yep, that's how you do it. And it's nothing to brag about, because God is the one who gave us all this knowledge and gave me the knowledge of how to resolve conflicts. But guys, I haven't had any conflicts with my wife in my marriage. We've been married almost 5 years in a couple weeks. And I've never had a conflict with her, because we both know how to just humble ourselves and keep peace with each other and be fellow workers, work together, not be competitive, and not be easily offended, guys. Sometimes people do offensive things and they just didn't mean it on purpose. They didn't mean to offend you. And you need to learn how to not be offended, especially when you think there's a possibility they didn't even realize that what they did was offensive. But, if you find yourself being offensive and you feel like it's hard for you to let it go and you're afraid you might be harboring a grudge against them, just go tell them, hey, my friend, I got to let you know, the other day when such and such happened, that offended me, and I just wanted to let you know, because I don't even think you realized it, but, I just want you to know that offended me. And if they love you guys, then they'll apologize. They'll say, I'm so sorry, I had no idea. Please forgive me, accept my apology. And just make sure you don't just say the word, I apologize, because that's not a real apology. The most important part of any apology is that you assure that person, you make sure they know it. They know that you love them. That's the most important part of an apology, even if you say nothing else. If you just say in your apology, I want you to know I'm so sorry. I love you very much. I never want to compromise our relationship. I want you to always know how much I love you. And just knowing that what I did hurt you hurts me, because I never want to hurt somebody I love. If they just know that, guys, that you love them, that is the apology. You've done it. And any apology that doesn't assure somebody of your love for them, it's not complete. Yeah. So we love our enemies. We take humility. We'd rather be wronged than ever wrong anybody else or retaliate. That's the Christian message. That's the Christian lifestyle. We don't go to war against anybody. We learn to be humble. We follow Jesus' example. He let people abuse him and revile him and slander him, say horrible things about him, and try to ruin his reputation. And it's still happening. It's still happening to this day. People are just out there ruining Jesus' reputation, claiming Christ for themselves, but actually being contrary to him, being his enemy. Yep. David Brousseau has a great video on war. You guys should look it up. David Brousseau has these great CDs if you guys haven't looked them up yet. But he does a good job summarizing the beliefs of the early church most of the time. There are a couple areas like head covering, female modesty. He is not as extreme as he ought to be. He doesn't really represent what the church says about that. But for the most part, all these CDs are so educational and so useful. I guess down here are just some interviews and stuff. But he's somebody who started putting together quotes from the early church in the early 90s, and he made them available online in CDs, but they aren't CDs anymore now. They're just YouTube videos. So anybody who's new to this, definitely check out these CDs. That's all I got, guys. Anybody have any questions? Because I'm probably going to go to bed. All right, you're letting me go. Nothing, guys? Well, it's good to see you guys. Ray, wonderful to see you, and Dante, and Elisha, and Jeff, and Kavan, and Preston, and Riley, and Oziel, and Xavier, and Maurice. Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
And God be with you. I hope to talk to you again soon. I hope you're edified
Good
by
night.
the silliness of the Catholic Church, and we'll do more serious call about the Catholic Church sometime and show you much more, I don't know. This is important information, but just starting at the foundations of why that church has become corrupted. But this is just one example. All right, well, so be it. I'll see you guys soon. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.